Okay, so today I'm making a refutation to the death penalty has negative social and economic effects. And then claim number one is that death penalty is costly. Number two is death penalty can kill innocent person. And third is death penalty failed to deter crimes. To support his first claim, advocate used lethal drug injection as an example. So he said that lethal drug can cost a lot of money, and I think this is not an effective evidence to support his claim because he ignored the prospective cost of the housing death row inmates. And according to Death Penalty Information Center, the cost of housing an inmate can go up to as $90,000 per year per inmate. With California's current death row population of 670, that account for 63 million every year. So injection cost is not an effective evidence because housing the criminal on their death row is actually costing more money than killing them. The second part of the first claim is that the cost of the court's procedure is high because of the lawyer fee, the additional witnesses, and longer jury selection. This evidence is misleading because this process does not need to be long. The Death Penalty Information Center report that execution of 13 prisoners in California since 1976 cost $308 million per person, while Texas execute 542 prisoners with the cost of $2.3 million per person. So compared to California, the procedure of the court is much shorter in Texas, and the cost is much lower as well. So comparison between the California and Texas demonstrate that death penalty does cost money, but it doesn't. The procedure of the court does not have to be long, and the cost does not have to be high, and it varies in different states. The second secondary claim is that death penalty can kill innocent people. So first, advocates use Troy Davis to support his claim, but we have to remind ourselves that death penalty is actually a process that justice system used to punish the criminals. So the people, the judge, the jury, they are the person who make the decision to send those people to death row. And that's why the legal process such as pretrial, trial, multiple appeals takes so long, especially in California, so that we can make a decision as fair as possible. So we cannot deny that there might be innocent people were killed, but the failure doesn't fall to the death penalty, the process itself. It falls to the people who make the decision to send those people to execution. So the second part of the claim is that Clayton, who has mental disability, so this evidence failed to support his claim because Clayton is convicted of killing police officers, so he's not actually innocent. On top of that, according to ARC.org, note advocate for people with intellectual disability also states that most states require the IQ under 70 demonstrate before age of 18 to avoid death penalty, so which is not Clayton qualified for. The last claim is that death penalty fails to determine crime. So the first part of the claim is that insufficient evidence that death penalty deters crime, and the statement is faulty because it is appeal to ignorance. Just because there is no significant evidence that death penalty deters crime, it does not mean that it fails to do so. And the second part of the last claim is that states without death penalty have lower murder rate. However, this statement suffers from the causality dilemma. So statistics actually show that death penalty in and the murder rate is constantly lower in the states that without death penalty. But we cannot be sure if the originally high criminal rate actually inspired the employment of death penalty. So in my opinion, I don't support death penalty, but the proof that provide does not effectively support his claim.
All right, structurally everything is fine. On the first point where the advocate talked about the cost of the drug, and you suggested really that that's not really an important consideration in the process of what the cost issues are. I thought you had a good argument here about the housing of prisoners. You had some statistical information to support that particular view. One of the things that you might talk about is that the alternative would be that we would support all of these people for the rest of their lives, probably at this high cost, given that they are high-risk prisoners. So in essence, that would be a perpetual cost, and that would not go away if we got rid of the death penalty. It would just continue because they'd be isolated prisoners who are serving life sentences in that situation. So I thought that there's a good argument there that could be enhanced a little bit by summarizing the point a little bit more there. On the court cost issue, I thought you did a very good job making a comparison of the court issues, Texas versus California, how much they spend in order to get an execution. The process obviously has something to do with the way the court system works. I think there is an interesting dilemma here that the more time and energy you spend trying to make sure you get it right, that's a bad thing, but killing somebody who doesn't deserve to die, that's also a bad thing. So, in essence, it becomes this little catch-22 that's going on here, where in order to protect people, we have to spend a lot of money, but protecting people, is that's an important goal that we have. So, you have to do both of those sorts of things. I don't understand on the second point when you're talking about innocent people, what the advocate's point was about Troy Davis and what your point on it was. That was not very clear. The argument about, the mental capacity of the candidates for the death penalty. I guess there's some standard that is being presented here. That was not very clearly developed. I did think the point that the second example, the Clayton example, said just because his mental capacity was low doesn't mean that he was an innocent person. He was guilty of the crime. There's just a question about whether or not it is fair, which is a different issue from whether or not the person is innocent. I think you need to stress that point a little bit more. And then on the crime deterrent issue, I think you've got a good press on the argument, that it's an appeal to ignorance. That's okay. You have kind of a causality claim on the second point. That's okay. It would really be helpful if you could present some evidence on deterrence, and I know there's evidence on deterrence out there, so I think that would enhance your argument a little bit. All right. Thank you.